Hi crafters, Raquel here with Paints and Glitter one more time, coming to you with the second part in the two-part tutorial on how you can create a mini album or memory book using the Remember When We Dance memory book dies from Tonic Studios. I will have all of the items that you see linked down below, and this of course is the continuation on how you can create pages in this book or how to decorate them. So what I'm showing you here are what are going to be the pieces for the second page. I've created this very thin frame. If you don't know how to create one of these, you simply take one of the dies to create the smallest page in the book, and then you nestle onto that piece of card the next smallest die, and that's how you're going to be able to create a frame. So it was the same size die that I used to cut the navy paper that you see there. And onto that navy paper, I did go ahead and use a separate die from a different set, and I can leave the name of that die set below. It creates a box, and I was able to cut into that background. And now what you see me doing here is that I'm decorating that or highlighting the pretty little elements in that using a dual dot marker that is a metallic marker from Tonic Studios. So it helped bring a little bit of shine to that. And there you see that because this does cut into that paper, it creates all of those beautiful intricate flowers. Then I need to back this up, and what I did was I added some red line adhesive, and there I'm going to back that up with that gorgeous glitter card from Tonic Studios, and the name of that card is Pink Frosting. And now I'm adding another panel to sandwich that together. And that paper is in Water Sprite. It happens to be my favorite card from Tonic Studios. I just think it's so gorgeous. It's the same one that I used for that small frame. But here you're going to see two other pieces I cut exactly the same way, only I just matted them in the navy paper. And then a larger piece that creates the medium-sized page for this book. What I did was that I cut away one of the edges, and now I'm going to overlap these tabs. So of course these tabs, you saw me cut it down. You cut them down to the size that you like, and you place them on your pages whichever way you prefer. So what I'm doing here is that I'm placing all of them onto this larger matting layer, but I'm creating sort of like a faux waterfall here. I'm placing one closest to the bottom of what's going to be that page, and then the next one is going to be a little bit higher. So you measure it as you see fit, but then the other one, of course, you saw me place the tab right on the top, overlapping the base page. And now that larger tab, because that is from the medium-sized page in this book, will overlap the base piece of card that I had cut down. And this is all going to go onto another piece of 300 GSM card. This is going to be nice and sturdy, and it's also going to create a page that I can add onto my base matting layer. So I'm taking a piece of that gorgeous paper as a matting layer and double checking, making sure everything looks correct, but I'm going to want to open and close this. So of course I'm going to add a magnet on the back to secure this, and this is going to allow me to have the interactive element that I desire to have in the book without having to have these move independently, and that's something that I really like. Now here I'm using a smaller little tab that does come with this mini album collection, and as you can see there, I've added a little magnet behind it, and that's what's going to allow me to open and close this little mechanism and also have a really pretty decorative element on this page. So I aimed the second magnet right behind that little tab, but of course on the matting layer, so that way you can't see it. And that's just a clever little way to hide, a magnet on a page, because all of this is going to actually adhere to this other piece here. Now here I do want to be able to open and close this. So I did overlap these, and all I did was cut out 2 page dies, and then I alternated the tabs. So one tab faces the right, the other tab faces the left. And when I say tab, I'm meaning hinges. And then I place that matting layer right on top of the uppermost matting layer. And then here's the hinge that faces the left. That's going to face the actual spine of the book. I'm going to overlap that one onto the matting layer. And that's just a way to create some, of course, dynamic pages, but it really does come together quite easily. And here you see all of this is going to adhere onto that base page. And by the way, there is a second video that correlates to this one where I show you how to add all of those pages to the spine of your mini album. So if you're a beginner and need some ideas or a place to start, then you can go ahead and watch that video, and I'll link that below. But here, this completes our second page in this book. A lot of interactive little pages here, flips and flaps, but then of course a lot of room for photos. So you see now how this page is going to open, and then you can close it back up. And let's move on to the other side of this page. Here I've created another frame, and all I did was to use the matting layer corresponding dies for the base of this book. And then I use another smaller one and cut out that aperture that you see there. So you make it the size that you wish, but of course I did not let that go to waste. I went ahead and cut a different one, only this time I did use blushing pink, and that is a really gorgeous pearlescent card. And now I'm adding a matting layer onto that, and as you can see there, there's a slit on those papers. And what I did was I laid them one on top of the other and ran them through my die cutting machine using a very thin die that's available in this set, which allows you to cut a little pocket onto your paper. And I also added this 2mm tall thin foam adhesive. And what I'm doing here is removing the backing, and I am supplementing this with Nuvo Deluxe adhesive because you do want a wet glue whenever you create a mini album. And there I'm going to be laying that right on top to create a pocket. And that's why I only added that adhesive on 3 sides. And I did decorate that, I was showing you earlier, with the little strips on the sides. But here you get to see how that's going to allow me to add anything inside that little pocket. And this little piece here, which is absolutely stunning, is part of the mini album collection. Now, you just saw me remove the uppermost piece of foam from that page, and that's because I changed my mind on that, so it wasn't necessary. But here, moving on to this other page, I have used the same slit die and just cut it now vertically. But here I did make a little page that looks like a little notebook, and then this piece here I just cut it down, and you'll see why. I cut it to about 2.5 inches wide. So this piece that I cut away is actually going to adhere right to the base of the page. This is going to allow me to create a pocket. And on the other piece, I did add adhesive, again, to only 3 sides of this matting layer. I'm supplementing that again with wet adhesive. And all of these floral papers are part of the collection that you can get this week from Tonic Studios, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So once I have this adhered, now I can take away the lining there of that double-sided adhesive, and this is going to allow me to add this beautiful decorative element. Now this is from a different collection of dies from Tonic Studios, but that butterfly that you see there in the center is actually part of this paper collection. I just use the die to cut into that paper so that way I can highlight that. I'm adding also a little tab here to this other little page that I had cut and folded in half. And that's going to slip right behind that little pocket. But that little butterfly I did supplement with some shabby glitter that I have so that it would stand out. Now this other page is going to have another little pocket, and those little photo corners are part of the die set. All I did was that I cut out this matting layer you're watching me apply to the background, and then I took another corresponding die and I cut away the very border of that same matting layer, and that's what allowed me to create this little pocket that you see here. Again, I'm adding adhesive only to 3 sides of it, and I had adhered already some acetate to it. So this allowed me to create a pocket with that very thin frame. I'm now going to decorate this pocket using these film strip dies that are included in the set. I think these are just absolutely adorable. I'm so happy that Tonic Studios created this die because I know that I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. And here, all you have to do is fold this over. The little tabs will adhere right to the background, and then there's a little side tab. Now you can cut that little side tab away. It depends on how you choose to use this, or you can overlap it with the next little film strip that you've created if you'd like to create a page like this one. Now what I did was that I used all of the papers that I had added to the book so that you could see all of the different colors that will match this paper collection, but later on I did switch out the lavender for a different color, and you may see it there on the screen. Now this gorgeous piece is also another die that's available in this collection. So again, I'm going to use my matting layers to hide the hinges on the page. So using that decorative piece, I've adhered it onto a rectangle that I folded to have about 1/4 of an inch hinge. You can make it however wide you like. But here all I'm doing is overlapping it onto that matting layer so that I can hide the hinge. Now behind that decorative little rectangle that I had created, I did hide a magnet, and I was able to hide the magnet with yet another piece of cardstock. But here you see I'm just going to add this onto my lavender matting layer, and that's also Tonic Studios cardstock. So I used several different colors on purpose with this collection just to show you that there are lots of different colors in the florals on these papers, and you're going to be able to use a lot of different cardstock choices to match the paper. So I hope that you're enjoying this variety because I know that I am. So now after adhering these matting layers right onto the base page, I'm going to be adding another one, and I left this in the video on purpose so that you see I got ahead of myself. I do this all the time. And I needed to add my second little hinge right behind that matting layer as well to hide it, but I was able to rescue that. So don't give up if you make an error, just keep moving. None of us are perfect, so that little hinge is now hiding right behind there. And now on the back of this, I'm going to be adding yet another piece of this lavender cardstock, and here is where I'm hiding the little corresponding magnet. But as you saw, I did decorate this using the gorgeous embellishment mousse from Tonic Studios. Now I did it in that pink color because that's exactly what I had used on the base of this book. But of course you use whichever color you prefer. Now moving on to the last portion of this. This is the back of that page. I'm simply going to add a matting layer. And I did create this video a little bit sped up just so that I wouldn't take too much of your time. But be mindful that there is some script on the background of some of these papers, and that's why you just saw me flipping that back and forth, because I realized that I didn't want that paper to be upside down. Now using another die set I did create this panel here. I did cut it out of the blushing pink pearlescent card from Tonic Studios. You're seeing me score this because it is a waterfall die. And onto this, you only need to add 2 pieces of adhesive, and I do recommend the foam adhesive from Tonic Studios. It gives it enough lift off of the page so that your waterfall can move. Now I realize this is not part of this die collection, but of course you want to mix and match whichever dies you do have. That is the fun part of this, is to collect the mini album or memory book dies and mix and match all of the ones that you might have on hand to your heart's content. It makes it so much fun. So what I've done here, of course, is that I've taken advantage of all of those floral papers, and now instead of adding just white cardstock to this, I am going to use the little panels to make this waterfall very just cohesive and beautiful, using all of those little floral panels that you can cut using the die set. Now you see how simple this is to apply. You're simply pulling on that waterfall, and where you have an edge or a score line, that's where you're going to apply your next little layer. So long as you don't overlap the score line, then you're fine. And you don't want to add too much decoration to this, so that's why I placed it a little bit further to the left on this page, and that's so that it could add a little bit of decoration on the page as well. Now here I took one of the little tabs available with this die set, and I used a little bit of hot glue to attach it to the side of the waterfall, and then that way I could use that mechanism. And then this is the back cover, so I kept this quite simple here. And I've used another piece of this paper that has that beautiful scallop decor on the one side. And I simply used some other dies from another memory book collection to create the double mat here. And then I did also add some little butterflies that I overlapped using both mirror card and glitter card. And I separately did take some lace and add it on top of those little butterflies. But here I'm using the little photo corners available with the die set just to decorate this. And here is the final result. I also am adding the gray board covered in this piece of card. Now there I was showing you the double-sided tissue tape from Tonic Studios. That is a really nice roll of adhesive that you can use, and that's what I used on the gray board. And here I'm just cutting away the little corners of the paper. I do use this tool that's meant for book binding. I've just had it in my stash for a really long time, but of course you could just use a ruler. And now I'm adding double-sided adhesive around the perimeter of the gray board because I'm covering it entirely with that paper just to give it a more professional finish. And all I'm going to do is that once I wrap this like a little present almost, then I'm going to adhere it to the outside of this book. Now I did that off camera because it does take me a little bit of time just to hold that onto the paper. But if you're patient, of course, you can achieve the same results. And because I wanted this to be a little bit more shabby chic, it is, of course, called Shabby Meadow. Then I did add some laces to the spine, but of course, that's completely optional. I just thought that they went nicely with the book, so you'll be seeing that in a moment. But all you have to do is push the little corners in on that paper when you're wrapping that around the gray board, and you'll get a really nice finish. And there you see where that's going to go. I just applied liquid adhesive and I adhered that to the outside of my book to give it a nice sturdy spine. And that's just personal preference. You can definitely just use cardstock. But here's the final result. Here is the gorgeous box that you can create. I do have a separate tutorial showing you how you can add the little lock on the side. I did hide a little magnet back there. I did create this on as a shaker lid. So the Instructions are available with the die set, so that's exactly how I made it, only I did add as an option that ribbon to house the mini album. And now you're going to see the cover here says, "Remember when we smiled." All of the flower dies in the mini album collection are what I used to create the flowers on the cover. There you see the lace that I also added to the spine. And I just went ahead and created the little pockets. I added the little paper clips that are available with the set, which I'm sorry I forgot to mention in the videos. But of course, you can watch the beginnings of this tutorial so that you get to see how I created those other pages as well as the foundation of this mini album. So this is just a quick little walkthrough. And if you do have any questions for me regarding how I use the dies or anything that I may have forgotten to mention, don't forget that you can always reach out to me at paintsandglitter@gmail.com. I'm happy to respond or give any help that I can. And this is an excellent collection of memory books. So if you are new to the memory books from Tonic Studios, I cannot say enough about how much I love them. They are my favorites. I highly recommend them. You can create so many different styles of books, whether they be masculine or feminine, for anyone that you may love and want to remember for a very long time. You can add photography, of course. You can add journaling, however you want to use them. You can make recipe books. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So, of course, all of the detail that you see with the different dies give it a really elegant finish to the books. And it's up to you what you add. For instance, here you see me pointing out those little strips on the sides that they were meant for the spine of a book, but you use them as you like. So you can overlap them. You can use the little leftover strips to decorate the base of a page. You can fold the paper and then cut it. I mean, there's so many different ways. So I do have a playlist that you can watch if you need some ideas or just want to watch for inspiration. You can just, as you're doing your daily chores, just turn it on and listen to it in the background if you'd like to. Um, but this has been so much fun. I absolutely adore these books. I hope that you enjoy them as well. Take advantage of March Madness if you're watching this, of course, as all of these are being released. And yeah, pick up some of these items and have some fun. So I hope that this video tutorial has been helpful to you, that you've taken away some inspiration, and that, as I always say, that you can be inspired and be blessed. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. And I look forward to sharing with you all of the other items that will be available during this wonderful week at Tonic Studios. Take care, and thank you so much for watching.